What do we call that? When you tell somebody that they either pay you money or you're going to press criminal charges against them. Extortion. So, I mean, here I'm not trying to be an extorter. I'm just being an attorney negotiating the law for my clients, and you owe my client money. Although some of these things might be illegal, criminal, some of them are also civil. So you can't put in your settlement agreement that you won't agree to press criminal charges or pursue criminal prosecution, but you can say that you won't sue them for those things. So sometimes with respect to illegal contracts and drafting them up for your bosses, you need to be a little bit careful that you don't cross the line into extortion and things like that. Usury we talked a little bit about earlier. Sometimes people will come to you in Hawaii and say, can you draw up this promissory note, 18% interest? If they go into default, the interest goes up to 28%, this and that, Hawaii's got usury laws. They apply to certain types of transactions and not others. But if you happen to be wrong about it, the remedy in Hawaii by statute is that usury is illegal, and if you have a contract that contains usury, the contract is unenforceable. It means you can't get the interest, but you can't also either sue on the principal to get back what you loaned. How do you cure something like that? What if you're a lawyer and the usury laws are so complex and you're not normally in this area, but you draw up a contract that says 18% or 24% interest? What do you do in your agreement? What do you put in your agreement to try to protect against that? You know those clauses you have in the boilerplate of agreements sometimes that says if any part of this contract is illegal or unenforceable, then, or if it results in, and you need to be more specific, if any part of this contract involves violation of usury laws, if that's more specific, then the court or person adjudicating this shall reconstrue such provisions so that it is enforceable, consistent with law, and that the interest rate shall be no more than the maximum amount allowable by law. When you put that kind of language into a contract, what you're doing is saying, this contract might be illegal, I don't know. But if it is, then you're allowing the court or whoever else to reconstrue it, change its terms so that it is enforceable, so that they don't have the right to go ahead and negate the whole contract. And you'll see that clause a lot of times in your big, thick agreements where you have those enforceability clauses where if any part of this agreement is unenforceable or in violation of law, then the agreement shall be reconstrued such that it is enforceable. So you need to be watch out for things like that. Going into some of the defenses, now we're talking about we have a contract, offer, acceptance, consideration. We have defenses. The first one they talk about in the outline materials is fraud. We talked a little bit about that. Those are those people out there in the world that tell you something that they know is not true. You hear it, you rely on it to your detriment, and as a result you suffer damage. When you have transactions like that, you normally can get out of the transaction. Does that mean that every contract that has fraud in it, the person who's the victim side of that, the person who is lied to, that they should cancel the contract? What happens if somebody offers to sell you their home? It's your dream home location. You've been waiting for this home to come on the market for years, and they agree to sell it to you. And in the sale contract, they make a representation that this house has no termite damage. In the seller disclosure statement, has no termite damage, no active infestation, no damage to the house. House is in pristine condition. Okay? You bring your home inspector out, and your home inspector laughs and says, oh, I remember this seller tried to sell this house 6 months ago, and I was the same inspector on the job, and there's all kinds of termite damage, and the seller knew about it then, they know about it now. And they're a bunch of liars if they're telling you this house, because underneath this house, these structural beams, several of them are eaten completely through by ground termite. And you go, fraud! It's a fraud, it's misrepresented, I want out of this contract. But it's your dream home. And the price that they're offering it to you at, $1 million, is a good price because they probably, in a better economy, could sell it for 1.4 or 1.5. And so you go, was there offer? Yes. Was there acceptance? Yes. Was there consideration? Yes. There's a right to get out of the contract because you have maybe an inspection period, or maybe you don't. Maybe you're past the revocation date on the contract. The contract's gone hard, but now your inspector's telling you the seller knew about the termites. Are you going to want to cancel? There was fraud. Clear as day, there was fraud, you can prove it. Sometimes fraud is, yes, it's bad, But sometimes on balance, you like the consideration that you're getting, you like the price. Yeah, they lied to you, but I want the house. So can you go ahead and buy it? You can go ahead and buy it, and then maybe you can subtract out for incidental breach the portion of the misrepresentation caused as far as those beams, what's the cost. But you don't void the contract and rescind it and walk away because you want the house. So the fact that there's something bad in every contract or in some contract doesn't mean that you necessarily assert your rights to cancel it. You might use it to negotiate further points, something more advantageous to you, a reduction in the price or some money set aside in escrow to repair the beams or something, but it's not automatic that you want to cancel every contract for which you have a defense. Misrepresentation, we talked about before, it's the same as fraud, same elements. Somebody making a statement to you that's not true, that you rely upon to your damage. The only difference is it's not a lie. It was an inadvertent mistake. Somebody believed it was a CZ. I just believed it was a true diamond and it wasn't. Still have a right to get out of the contract if you want. So misrepresentation is another one. They sometimes refer to that as innocent misrepresentation. What about mistake? Mistake we talked a little bit about. You go to a garage sale and you see somebody has a painting for sale in that garage sale, and you happen to have a degree in fine arts, and you see this face that's all twisted with his eyeball on the back behind the head. They got it sitting there. It's for sale for 25 bucks, and Mr. TJ, what is it? Mr. Salvador.
The painting itself?
Yeah.
It's a Picasso.
Do you tell the seller, that's a Picasso? That's a Picasso, you idiot. Don't you know what you got there? Do you say that, Mr. Salvador?
I give him 25 bucks and run.
You 25 bucks and run. The tires are screeching, Mr. Salvador, as you leave the driveway. The rubber is burning. You've turned into a drifter. Your car's going like this. What happens when later on the seller realizes, my God, Mr. Salvador shows up on the newspaper a week later where somebody found out that he bought a Picasso in Hawaii, and somebody says, that's the painting I sold at the garage sale. Calls up Mr. Salvador. Mr. Salvador, I sold you that Picasso. I didn't know it was Picasso. You must have known. I want my painting back. Here's your 25 bucks. I'll go through in another 25 bucks. Just save you some gas. But I want the painting back, Mr. Salvador. Do you have a basis? Do I have a basis for rescinding this contract? There's two types of mistakes, right, that the law talks about. What are those two types of mistakes in our materials? Mutual mistake, unilateral mistake. Was this a mutual mistake or a unilateral mistake? It was unilateral. I was mistaken, but you weren't. I didn't know what it was, but you knew it was a Picasso. That's what we call unilateral mistake.
My defense was suspected, didn't know, took a chance and bought it, then I realized we were going with, so now we have a
What do we call in the law? They say you're entitled to the benefit of your bargain. If you see value in the world, sometimes when I see a girl, she's plain, thinks about, she's nothing, you throw some makeup on her, you put her in a movie, next thing you Brooke Shields or something, some famous movie actress. We all can see value and some people don't see value. You look at somebody, we all see different things. Value is what makes capitalism work. As some people see something and they appreciate the value, somebody else thinks it's garbage. They want to throw it away. That's what makes somebody's entitled to the benefit of their bargain. Duress we talked about. Somebody's forcing you to do something under threat of violence, or sometimes they even have economic duress. That's a fine one as to when you can get out on. Undue influence we talked about. You have an attorney trying to use their superior skills, or a CPA, or somebody trying to do a medical doctor, somebody that has some kind of exceptional relationship to you, trying to get you to do it. They talk about infancy, adhesion contracts, statute of frauds we've talked about, something that needs to be in writing. They have the types of categories there. Sale of land, contracts that cannot be performed within 1 year, an agreement to pay the debt of another, what they call contracts of guarantee, agreements for sale of contracts for $500 or more, agreements for intangibles like copyrights, patents. If your boss wants to draw up an enforceable contract to sell a trade name or copyright or patent or something like that, it needs to be in writing. And sales of securities also need to be in writing. Under the UCCs, they talk about the contract needs to be in writing, signed by the party to be charged. Person who is the party to be charged, that's funny words. We don't really know who that person is, but we can figure out who they are. The person to be charged is kind of think about like the criminal law. If the police are charging somebody, they're accusing them or wanting to get enforcement against them. The person to be charged is the person against whom you are trying to get something done. It's the suee. If you're aggrieved and you want somebody to sell their land to you and they're refusing to do it, the party to be charged is the suee. It would be the seller. They've not agreed to sell the land. Their signature is the one who needs to be on the contract. If you're